Alright, we are going to keep going with the flow here today. Part 2. Part 1 showed up ago. Should be the last video. There we go. Alright. Smudge. Clear it all out. I'm just going to dive into the rabbit hole for starters. We can go into the flow, and I think last time I mentioned we'd go into the sense of being stared at. Plus I've got some fairies with me too. The crow I have. If you jump on and you have questions, feel free to ask. It's a little early in the game for that, but you can always reach out to me too for private readings. It's always tea time. That one showed up. I do have coffee with me. Weird moody day, weather-wise. Trying to rain, trying to snow. Poison showed up from last time too. Do not do things that you know are bad for you as far as going with the flow. Nonsense. It's time to talk sense. That one showed up for us last time as well. Funny how that happens. Good morning. Welcome in. If you do have questions, feel free to ask. This flow book is interesting. The psychology of optimal experience. That's what we're aiming for as far as transformation goes and a lot of these different initiatives. How I am consolidating and putting all these parts and pieces together. And like most random synchronistic things, this one showed up for me in a book box, just kind of randomly, with the Mystique of Enlightenment too. I went into that one last time. We might go into that this time, but we'll see. Choices are coming up as well, so we'll talk about choices with going with the flow. I've got a lot of thoughts on choices, so maybe that's a good spot to start. Let's see. Find something in the book. Something that's been coming to mind the last couple of days. Kind of shifting into this and trying to prepare for this. Not like this is any sort of big deal, just navigating sick kiddo, germs, shift in weather. But teaching, healing through self-healing, modes of self-healing. Ultimately, if we're evolving and going through these sort of things, and we're trying to figure out how to heal the self, creating safe space is another topic and theme that keeps coming up as well. I've written down sovereignty as well. Sovereignty as far as healing self. Things are trying to interfere and get in the midst of this. The connection isn't electronically as strong as I would hope it to be, but that's okay. We're talking about, well, as far as choices, sovereignty, ability to make decisions, making decisions for the self, part of going with the flow. The nonsense part. I guess something that's coming up, little personal tidbits and whatnot as far as ways of relating and healing through self, and sharing experiences that I've gone through in order to give tools, pieces of the puzzle, so on and so forth. It's the unorthodox ways of relating. I think something came up in my pattern today too, as far as like relationships and forming relationships through unorthodox means, or coming into relationships. I mean, these are all sorts of relationships, family, romantic, personal, business, networking, all of those, all the I think anybody who knows me in any sort of way can relate to that as well. There's just like a difference in doing things, but again, that unorthodox way of relating. I don't want to get into assumptions yet. Oh, I left us off at painting the roses red. assumptions being made. Okay, that kind of eases into today too, and leaving us off here, covering up errors. We're not trying to cover up errors, we're trying to be authentic. I really want to get into this book before I get too far into this. Working for or being in a relationship with someone who is harsh on those who make mistakes, feeling forced to cover up errors to avoid punishments, fear of mistakes being discovered, hiding the evidence as the consequences are much harsher than the mistake, feeling that what you need to do to stay safe is no longer reasonable. Refusing to hide mistakes or errors is the reverse of this, taking on a punishment that is too harsh. Refusing to change that is perfect just as it is. Encouraging others to stand together, no longer fearing an oppressive societal expectation or tyrannical person. That goes in a lot of different ways too, especially in the shift of Pluto into Aquarius in the next 20-year cycle, and looking at things integrating, working together. And I think with this too, I mean, you've got a group of cards who have accidentally made a mistake, and they all, I guess, what is it? Integrity and accountability are coming up into it as well. I just wanted to get into this because it's distracting me. It's like, say when, huh? Here. The People of Flow. It's on page 90. Okay. And the People of Flow talks about relating as well. So maybe this is a lot to do with relationships or ways of relating with others, but the ways of relating with others ultimately come down to how we heal the self and healing the self and relating to the self as well. And being authentic, because we're not trying to cover up any errors. It can be done creatively. That's why you have paintbrushes and drawing pens, and I even want to say like socio-political ideologies and words and phrases and things that can be positioned in such a way where these stagnations are uplifted, where we can get into this aspect of flow. But then the sense of being stared at, but people are watching, I think, is part of it too. Or it's like not wanting to make mistakes because of just how observant things are, or how quick people can be in the realm of projections to go into this aspect of canceling or cancel culture, which is just fucking fascinating to me. Let's see. All kinds of little tidbits. Let's just start with the top of truth. I'm sorry this keeps cutting out this morning. Let's smudge it and clear it a little bit more. I'm smudging with sweetgrass today, which is in inviting in, not just clearing out. And we have a slow connection, so bear with me. Okay. Welcome in. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Let's go back into the flow. We're talking about not being so ordinary and going into nonsense. Maybe I'll read into the nonsense from Alice in Wonderland here next. Lost in Antarctica or confined to a prison cell, some individuals succeed in transforming their harrowing conditions into a manageable and even enjoyable struggle, whereas most others would succumb to the ordeal. Accounts of many people in difficult situations concludes that they survived by finding ways to turn the bleak objective conditions into subjectively controllable experience, and that kind of brings us back into choices as well. So I think objectively controllable might be a good word to put into place as far as choices go, because ultimately if we're going to choose something and going with the flow, we're going to choose what's most reinforcing, and we're going to want to avoid punishment. But there's a lot here, especially with this poison and this painting the roses red, where there are a lot of people who want to punish you for being different or not normal or different, or I mean, it's not even about you. It's that wall, veil, facade that's kind of getting in the way of everything here. They follow the blueprint of flow activities. Okay, yeah, I mean, you get into the aspect of flow, and then you're not resisting. What resist persists. Paying attention to the most minute details of their environment, discovering hidden opportunities. That's being mindful, mindfulness practice. That's getting into present time in the here and now. Working through discomfort, or feeling the feelings as they come up, and not putting so much emphasis into pain or holding pain, or suppression keeps coming up too. Funny, suppression keeps coming up. Suppression is coming up, so what is suppressed is coming up for us to have to work through. Setting goals appropriate to their precarious situation. And closely monitored progress through the feedback they received. You have to be open to the feedback part of it, and a lot of people aren't wanting to listen. I think that's why there's a lot of resistance maybe into coming into personal readings. It's easier to come into a space where things are more objectified, because looking at that subjective nature is a little bit difficult, but it's not impossible. It's not harrowing. It can just be very quick and very sudden. Whenever they reach their goal, they up the ante, setting increasingly complex challenges for themselves. That's also exposure therapy to anything that we're afraid of or have fear of. Just gradually getting closer and closer, approximating as well. Approximating might be a good aspect for choices to come into play. Let's look at what choices are about. Because changes happen. I mean, okay, so 5 has to do with transformation. So 6, the next step after transformation would be making a choice, because something has changed, so now you have to make a choice. But within the flow and in alignment within this aspect of harmonious acquisition. What are you trying to say? Acquiescence is harmonious acquiescence. What are you going to succumb to? Like forks in the road, but it's a big body of water. Choosing which way to go, a moment of decision, uncertain of what is best or what to do next, feeling like each door is closed, wanting to reach the next stage of your life, but not seeing a single way through. If you're not seeing a single way through, there's probably multiple ways through, like an array. It's not really like being in a fork in a road, being in the water and not wanting to drown or not wanting to go too deep. But that's part of the suppression as well, and things coming up and out of that. So, but I mean, you can go up, down, multiple directions, kind of within that space. Feeling blocked and restrained. There were doors all around the hall, but they were all locked. And when Alice had been all the way down one side and up the other, trying every door, she walked sadly down the middle, wondering how she was ever going to get out again. Do we need to find a key? Maybe we can call in the crows to help us find a key to figure out which door to take. And I think this is why I get so frustrated with the word choices, because you can choose and you can make the choice to try and open every door, right? But you can't go through the door if the door is locked. That choice is going to be met with the external reality, or the external world, the internal world versus the external world, or the subjective world versus the objective world, where those two lines kind of meet. That's where that flow comes into play. How does she get out of this room? changing in order to find our own personal wonderland. Needing to keep the momentum going in whatever area of life the magic of change is arriving. I mean, if change is happening, you just gotta go with it. I mean, there's no sense in trying to go back to the way things were, or trying to make things like, I mean, it's just gonna be completely different. It has to be. I mean, everything has changed since you've been gone, and now since you've been back. It's different. It's similar, but it's different. Giving up too soon is not an option. You keep going. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Stay afloat. Feeling daunted by challenges or stuck in an in-between place. Chances are it's because ego is trying to drive this show, right? The meat suit is wanting something. This is where we just have to succumb to spirituality. It's always tea time. Pops back up again. This freaking card. Eternity, endless momentum, and repetition. It's part of the cycle and the agreement, and going with what it's supposed to happen. An unwillingness to alter habits in order to transform. Start with clothing, maybe, or it's those habits have to change and shift. Something in the environment. That's part of why you left the environment in the first place. Now that you're back, you have new tools, but you have to bring them out to use them. Reluctance to move forward and a lack of curiosity, and just tired. You have to investigate. That's what came up next. You have to look closely. You have to ask questions. You have to think before asking. That's that conscious part of it. A moment's regret is coming up, but you're like doubting because you're regretting, or you don't want to get in trouble, or there's just a history of going through things that are difficult and you're just tired. Find the lesson. Let's look in this book. If you peek through the keyhole, as Alice does, you will see the doorway leads to the loveliest garden you can imagine. You must find a way through, because the delights that lie on the other side are worth this test. It's a test. You gotta keep going. The challenge is how to reach this place. You may need to grow smaller, you may need to grow larger. You may need to change yourself in ways that initially seem very strange to you. That's not an unorthodox way. I mean, maybe we don't even need a key. It says don't drink the poison. Like, don't think of white elephants, but you have to change your size or change the way you're doing things. Animal premonitions. 15. Premonition is literally a warning in advance. Many animals seem to sense when a disaster or catastrophe is about to occur. The most striking examples concern earthquakes. And our environment shut us off to these intuitive type things, but if we're listening to, say, the birds, let's go into the crow for this one for a moment. This is an advance warning. I mean, should you listen and take heed, then you can get to higher ground and get safe. But you're wanting to do things the same over and over and over and over. The Wheel of Fortune is at the bottom of the deck. This is, again, listening to spirituality, external things, getting out of ego, getting out of the meat suit, doing things a little bit different. Excuse me. Strength. The unorthodox approach. Let's see, through a couple more times. The sense of being stared at because something is watching you. I definitely feel that. Not just like here, yes, but I get this the sense of like being placed on an altar, or pictures and candles, or voodoo, or It's like in going into meditation and seeing through these little windows, right? Or like seeing out this window, and out this window is this little picture frame up on a mantle or something, and it's surrounded by candles. King of Cups is popping out. Our warning signs. And how we're going to get out of this stagnating pool energy, right? Where's our exit? Where's our way out? Even that do not drink poison has an aspect of the wheel, right? Where she's got to go round and round this room. There's all these options and opportunities. Death and the Fool. Rebirthing, beginnings, new beginnings. This is like rebirth across it all. Just like, let's look at this King of Cups, and then I'll kind of go back and forth here, because this absolutely is new beginnings and coming into these new agreements. Ideas, logic, disagreement, knowledge, thinking. What did I hear last night before going to bed? We can't really trust our hearts as far as making decisions, because the heart will lie. That unconditional love thing can get us really caught up into a lot of trouble. Then if we're going with thought, mind, getting caught up in like the monkey chatter, then again we're disconnecting from ground truth. I don't want to go like spiritual mumbo jumbo, but kind of quantum possibilities. You gotta be able to look at the world differently. Oh, your swords. I want cups. Okay, sorry. Psychic, creative, love, dreams, feeling, element, water. We're talking about psychic stuff, the sense of being stared at and tapping into these it's like paying more attention to the veil or the filter as things are coming into like your toroidal space, into that energetic field. Those projections and assumptions are going to get caught up in that veil, that field of chain. Zen Master has complete control over his emotions. I mean, that's part of what this comes into play too, is just detaching from the ego and the emotional self, and being able to step outside of the self and witness the emotions as they're happening. Being in complete control of your emotion doesn't mean being emotionless. It means being authentic in those authentic spaces, kind of knowing when that ebb and flow and that tide is moving, so that you can stay afloat, stay balanced. There are sneaky things that are trying to pull you down. We can look at what the sneaky things are too. I think that's going to be important. Sneaky things, Knight of Pentacles. The sneaky things people try to do for money. It's interesting what people will do when given money under the table, or I would say like underhanded, not necessarily under the table, but like I'll give you money to do this or to look for this, and then you can report back to me, is coming up right now. So the sneaky things are letting like money, material things control your emotion or control your affect. This regal bird can handle the most tumultuous of situations with grace and compassion. when you receive a royal visit from the King of Cups, may be a signal to take some quiet time to reflect on the emotions around the situation. What emotional triggers seem to pop up regularly that hold back progress? That has something to do with that choice and change. They're talking about like behavioral patterns, right? I think people get really caught up in like the words, they're not quite being used strategically in an effective way. When we're talking about the neurological programming, the neurolinguistic programming, the words that we're using to encode, to give us an idea or sense of self, to be able to pass through a keyhole. Beware the emotional vampires, where your energy is flowing. Maybe that's something for us to be warned of in advance, warning in advance of emotional vampires, because you are going through this huge change, this rebirth, and this big transition, and you're a bit vulnerable. Like, I talk about this little cricket all the time that I saw when I had a leopard gecko and I was feeding it, and this cricket is molting out of its shell, and their shells are this rich dark black, but when it cracks open, they're very white and fleshy on the inside. They're very vulnerable, and along comes this other asshole little cricket, just eats a hole right through the abdomen as it's in this very vulnerable space. So you have to look closely, and you have to be aware. We have these like gardens of delights in the background, which I'm glad this picture image keeps showing up in cards and books and art just through the last few days. And the biggest aha that I had about it is, what is it, the Garden of Earthly Delights or something, but it's talking about hell, heaven and hell, hell on earth, but hell isn't necessarily the pain and fire and the brimstone that we think of. The hell is the luxurious parties and the orgies and the drugs and the alcohol and the music and the parties and the illusions and the distractions that are harvesting your energy. They're the energy vampires. They're taking from you. They're sourcing from you, probably your money. So the kind of the sneaky things or the sneaky aspects of it, because you're feeding into or playing into it's been an ongoing theme for the last few years. Things are not what they seem to be. I mean, from the top down, the political stage, and sometimes what God uses these dark forces in order to do good things. Things have the ability to change. If you have the ability to change, so do these other things. But sometimes these pawns or these players come into action in order to create a domino effect of good. But you have to be careful where you're investing that energy from. If you're not self-aware, you're not sure, and that's where that sense of being stared at, it comes into play, because as you're let's say intoxicating yourself, it can even be with light, color, sound, any sensation, taking in one sense over all the others. Somebody is watching you. Your emotions are being manipulated, or you're being manipulated. Using emotions as a means of blackmail, it's tough. So just being very mindful of the feelings and the sensations that are coming up, and something is saying, this isn't comfortable and right, then you don't have to be there. Is there anything else on this page? Some kinds of premonitions may depend on detecting subtle physical changes in the environment. For example, some animals may sense changes in Earth's electrical field or slight tremors before earthquakes. And that's the toroidal field around you as well, around the Earth, the electrical field. The pineal gland has like sensors in it that align with the energetic ley lines, the fields. Crystals are coming to mind, like spires. You have to be careful what people call themselves. Like a radio tuner, frequency, bandwidth, those are all done. The crystal structure, like the pineal gland, as it's aligning into telepathic aspects. And this is funny because I open it up because Rupert here is talking about apparent premonitions may be telepathic, like dogs anticipating the arrivals of their owners by picking up their intentions at a distance, or people anticipating telephone calls while someone is intending to call them. That happens all the time in this space. So usually before somebody reaches out to me for readings and such, you'll show up on my radar. If you're thinking about me, you tend to show up on my radar. It's interesting to see who shows up in my dreams too, and for what. I try to be very mindful of that. But this one too, dogs know when their owners are coming home. Telepathic calls and commands. It's very common. We all have that capacity and that ability that goes into self-healing and awareness too. I told you I would look at the Knight of Pentacles. The ways animals respond to people's intentions, but I mean, this is how anything responds to anybody's intentions, and this is cultivating conscious creativity. So the intentions of the things that you're creating are gonna emit or emanate a frequency or a vibration that are being, I guess, projected out onto external field lenses. Through calls and commands, people actively will their animals to do something. Sometimes these calls and commands appear to be communicated telepathically, and they can go in both directions, from people to animals and from animals to people. I can usually call my dog in telepathically if I'm thinking about her. She'll tend to show up in like moments. This is like pets and telepathy, the sense of direction. How could a sense of direction work? Sense of direction when it comes to investigating choices and which door we're supposed to be taking. Whatever the physical basis, I suppose, that the animal somehow feels that a familiar place is in a certain direction. Perhaps there's some kind of a pull toward it, like a pull towards home. Can feel its nearness or distance. This is why I can do remote work as long as I have permission and can tap into anybody. I mean, we can find you. You're not far. That's that quantum entanglement thing. Let's look at the Knight of Pentacles real quick. Again, if you're jumping on and you have questions, you can ask. I'm doing my best to watch the comment feed, or just hold something in mind as well. So we're talking about going into the flow. We're talking about the sense of being stared at. Telephone telepathy is coming through as well. Somebody wanting to call or having a conversation through that channel. Like, hi, hello, how are you? Right? And you can picture the other person on the other side. But the Knight of Pentacles, this is talking about the sneaky things or things that are trying to somehow profit or bemoan your labor. I know that sounds kind of odd. Sits upon his workhorse ready to take on the next task. He is seeing the page's dream of focused visualization, again, through that telepathy thing, being careful where you project your hopes, wants, desires, where you put them. Like, be careful with vision boards too, because you can put your desire out on the vision board, and anybody who has any opposition towards you can alter that. That's why it's good to encode things in symbols, or using symbols, metaphors, similes, shapes, even being very mindful and conscientious of geometric shapes and aligning patterns, orientation. But it's flow. You have to be adaptable to it and be willing to push and mold it, kind of getting away from some of these definitive straight lines, getting out of the grid. You guys are kind of noisy. But okay, that's fine. We'll just keep going. Now, through hard work and determination, he will set the vision into motion as it enters the path into fruition. Slow-moving and methodical, hard worker, ensuring that each task is completed successfully before starting a new one. Being thorough, being in integrity, being authentic. We had another one over here too that was talking about, I want to say going slow, but not trying to push or force timing, because it's just going to happen whenever it's meant to happen, and trusting and having faith and going with that flow. A co-worker or business partner who will keep his word and as a result become instrumental in ensuring the success of a project. Reversed, risks becoming bored or stuck in the same job. It's getting in these patterns, not breaking out of the mold. That's being stuck in this room here with Alice, and we're looking for the key, trying to get out. May also reflect a relationship that is not progressing or has become stagnant. People can keep us kind of locked into some of these same patterns and things, or people wanting to, maybe in the job realm of things, I feel like that's what more of that is. There's more challenge in the relationship where it comes to like it being an unorthodox relationship, and asking yourself what's the function within that. Some people are using it just to gain something. Some people are going with it because it feels right, despite the wrongness, right? Just knowing what the feelings of it are. But there's balance. It's like getting out of what you see, going with what you know. But the work relationship, somebody within the context of the work relationship who is kind of keeping you stuck in a pattern for some sort of specific gain, or they're not showing you something, or maybe they're hiding like the key for you and trying to keep you locked in this room, or not giving you an opportunity to get through to the other side, probably because they see you as a threat. Queen of Cups. It's that emotional tenacity. You're just having so much there. I don't want to do too much with the Crow. Let me pull another one out of Alice here in a second. Telephone telepathy. Do we have anything here? Ironically, the very intention of calling someone at a distance by telephone creates favorable conditions for telepathy. think about the people they want to call. Maybe they look at their numbers and they dial them. All this time they're focusing their attention on the people they want to call, and their rational minds do not interfere with this focusing because technology has made it possible. The possibility of calling someone at a distance for theosophists or followers of other esoteric movements. Nowadays, even the most diehard materialists direct their intention toward people with whom they want to get in touch, however far away they are. Whether they like it or not, their intention may be detectable telepathically. So I met this woman years ago, brilliant woman years ago, at her on my radio show too. Back when I did radio a couple years ago, Cultivating Consciousness. Anna Duxina, brilliant. I just kind of want to have a conversation with. But she tells me, how she had all these experiences traveling around the world, and I asked her at one point, like, "Whoa, how do I go and find these people? How do I do that?" And she looks at me, she's like, "Kelsey, you bring them to you." And I'm like, "Oh, huh. That makes sense." It does. Shifting. You just put the call out there. Actively inducing people to call. Just by thinking of them. Thinking of someone who then calls. Surveillance and wariness, though. Effects of looking through telescopes or binoculars. Some people watch others as part of their job in the sense of being stared at if the sense of being stared at really exists, surveillance professionals are likely to have encountered it. In order to find out what they have noticed about the sense, I and my research associates have interviewed police officers, sheriffs, prison guards, criminals, military surveillance officers, custom officers, security, blah, 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 and a variety of martial arts. The sense of being stared at seems to occur at a considerable distance when the person is observed through telescopes or binoculars. Here, many non-professionals as well as professionals have noticed that some people seem to know when they're being focused on by a hidden observer at a distance. Okay, so things are watching you. And you know how, like, it's that slit experiment where the particles are being observed and the way they react, or the way that they're displayed out on that screen changes when somebody's watching versus when somebody isn't watching. I just kind of like a really creepy feeling right now. Like super creeped out feeling. Again, like somebody being paid to observe somebody else or watching things. I guess like being cautious near cars. We are also in a very, let's say, politically sensitive time at the moment too. So when we're doing things that are unorthodox, they're gonna like kind of stand out like a sore thumb, and they're gonna draw attention whether you want them to draw attention or not. So lead the way, be a leader, show others how it's done. You can help others, and you just do it. it's that performance art thing. Performance art has been coming to mind too. It's like if you know somebody is watching you, then you put on a show. Oh, Knight of Cups, Queen of Cups. Put on a show when your show ponies is all Queen Cups, Knight Cups. Emotional, I mean, going with the flow. Flow is emotions and things coming together. Why are they watching me? Because you have something that they want. They're trying to figure out how to get it. And so, if you don't just give it to them, they will come and take it. But why not make the bear do a preference assessment with the bear to see which one they prefer, because you know he's going to take the honey anyway. So put out all the varieties and see which one is preferred over the others. Where do you want to go? Well, let's look at our crows. Professional surveillance. Martial arts. Some cool schools of Asian martial arts place a strong emphasis on the role of intentions. They generally think of the sense of being stared at in this wider context. Intentions are closely related to the direction of life energy, usually translated as chi, ki, ki. The intention directs the chi directs the body. The subtle, delicate level of the intention can be sensitive and flexible, finding out the right angle for a throw or a punch, cinching the weak spots. There's some pretty amazing martial arts videos out there where people are like qigong to move and direct people before leaving, like without even touching. Right, we're talking about again about the those toroidal fields, those energetic fields, and what is being orchestrated that way. You just gotta learn to look at things in a bizarre way and be okay with that and get out of that sense of judgment. People are very locked in. Let's see what this queen says. Connecting with the subconscious mind and receiving messages from higher self. That's being in this receptive state, that telepathic state even. Loving intuitive energy. Manifesting yourself during times when you need self-love. A gift of compassion, emotional connectedness. Otherwise, you're trapped by your feelings. The feelings are locking you in, so you gotta like release yourself to the feelings, and you can like flow out that keyhole. She's learned to suppress her feelings so as not to become too emotional. As a result, she may feel disconnected and wanting to connect to things. And if you have a lot that's suppressed and you put in a connection, you gotta be careful of the synapse, I suppose, or whoever's on the receiving end of that, to be able to be receptive to that. Because again, be wary of the energy vampires who are just gonna like consume all of that energy that you have to put out there. Or finding a way to connect through a filter, some sort of simply subject to subject, like subject to objective, and then linking into the objective to download something for the subjective, but always having some sort of filter, or even want to say like a notary, attorney, neutral third party. The sky is so ominous outside today. Knight of Cups. Calm and healthy. Regal does not charge alongside his horse, but instead has mastered the skill of harnessing the energy needed to deliver the message calmly. Learning how to control and stay in the flow. Because people are going to want to, like, get you to be super reactive. Especially the more you practice and being in your flow, in that natural chi, you're gonna have to be able to be tapped into the subtle bodies to be able to navigate that, to direct things, move things forward. If somebody's like trying to corner you or back you into something, it's just like not succumbing to the pressures. Creativity and intuition again. Being realistic is going to be important. Following through with plans is going to be important. Especially when it comes to changing patterns, changing habits. May appear in your dreams or thoughts as ideas that pop in your head. You gotta get yourself into this like meditative, receptive state where you can kind of put out all of the, projects, projections, people, connections, and kind of like send out a mass email, but all the emails are different. That's weird. It's not that we're looking for the key, that you are the key. We're healing the self, right? So that would make sense, duh. So you are the key. Your challenge is to figure out how to take the shape of whatever keyhole it is you need to fit through. So how do you adapt to get through to the other side? You gotta be careful you're not becoming overly emotional and jumping to any conclusions without having all of the facts. And so many people do this because they're not listening, they're not wanting to listen, they're projecting, and assumptions are just, they're not wanting to listen. All that information is right there, and you can just say it all day long till you're black and blue in the face, passed out on the floor, but if you can't get through to the one, maybe it is the one email that goes out to the many. Cast a wider net. May also point to a relationship that has lost its creativity and has become mundane. Relationships and interrelating, getting through these pieces. But if you're changing, then naturally the relationships around you are going to change as well. So the intentions, I think it's very simple to hold the intention in the greatest good of all, the highest good of all. It's tea time again. There's this taken card. Wake up, it's your moment. Okay, wake up. We'll come into that one as well. set your course. We're all gonna like reach the end of the life journey. We're all gonna like cross the finish line at some point or another. So there's no winning or losing here. That's really important. It's always tea time. So this cycle, this pattern, these opportunities for growth, change, expansion, it's always going to be there. It's internal. Change is eternal. This is 25 and 26 accordingly. Let's read them in order. Let's do 25. Wake up. It's your moment. Wake up, Dormouse. And they pinched it on both sides at once. You can be sure that you have the spotlight turned directly on you and people are watching you. You're being observed. You're being asked to wake up. Being conscious, right, of what it is that you're creating and what it is that you're putting out there because people are watching. It's like a big part of why I like this space is because I don't have to say the same thing to 20 different people 20 different times. I can just say it one time and 20 different people can hear it. So there's not room for that telephone game to happen, because when you tell this person, and when you tell this person, and you tell this person, and you tell this person, it's adapted and it's changed and it's interpreted differently, and then so that bias can come back around and like bite you on the butt, and that's being around manipulative energy vampires, and we don't want to do that. We want to create like a safe space container filter in order for the flow to happen without blocks or others trying to direct that energy flow for their own benefit and their own accord. Being asked to wake up, to be present to what is being asked of you, and to rise to the occasion, show up and be present and be in the flow. The part one of this and this one, that's hand in hand. Although you may feel like withdrawing and not being so very visible, there is no running away. They're going to be able to see you, they're going to be able to observe you. We just live in that sort of culture where you go walking down the street downtown and you've got video cameras on you everywhere. And you can't even do things anymore without people pulling out cameras and trying to observe or trying to set up situations. Be mindful of that too. People trying to orchestrate situations to try to get things to look a certain way, because that media is adjusted to trying to shift and change things. And when you have unorthodox approaches to things, you cannot sleep through this moment. For others are eagerly waiting to hear from you. Okay, they're ready to listen to and enjoy what you have to offer, to finally hear what you've been waiting to say for a long time. As far as the leadership component and dynamic of it, I am doing my best to, despite how I feel, I'm going to do it anyway and just show up and be here and be present. Yesterday I did sleep, adapt. I slept kind of a lot yesterday. I've been sleeping a lot more in the last week or so, but I feel like I'm finally catching up on years worth of missed sleep or just exhaustion. And so it's kind of nice to shift that energy and feel rested and have energy, like I'm finally waking up from this long, horrible nightmare. It's like this, I get this feeling of, I had it the other night, when like you have, I don't know if you've ever had this experience or not, you have to practice in that lucid dreaming state where you can witness yourself dreaming and feel yourself dreaming. You're like, oh, I'm not gonna go there, it's time, wake up, and you're telling yourself, we gotta get up. And you come out of one set of consciousness into another. It's very much how things feel right now. Just waking yourself up out of a nightmare. You may feel you are not ready. I think that one came through, and maybe the last one too. It's just do it. Been trying too hard for things to be perfect or to be a certain way or to look a certain way, or to like people please or do things in a way that other people are comfortable with. and things aren't getting done from that level. And so showing up in this authentic, unorthodox, or unorthodox approach. There's just permission. There's so much like suppressed and pent up in here that needs to be communicated and needs to get out. It's coming out in the form of oracle cards and tarot cards and a selection of books and things that I have in this integral space. So thank you for participating and showing up. I think there's definitely information here that can help you find your own flow along this journey, find ways and cues and bits and pieces of information that will assist you in healing the self and making these radical transformations and things, and coming into creative consciousness. Sure, okay. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And really challenge yourself and put yourself to these rude awakenings. That's what this says here, a rude awakening. Being asked to deliver before you feel you're ready, being present and fully engaged with what is happening around you, making a contribution, being assertive despite your gentle nature, insisting on being able to tell your story, making your moment count, sharing with others who are ready to listen. Some people are going to project all kinds of bullshit onto you and they're not going to be ready to listen, and you can, like I said, share that information and communicate it till you're black and blue or whatever in the face and put it right there in front of them. But if they're not ready to receive it or understand it, they won't. So you might have to approach things in a different way, in a more assertive way, in a more standout-ish sort of way. Missing your moment, holding yourself back, sleeping through opportunities, not seeing the chances about you, hiding from your destiny, pulling back at the last moment, taking refuge in a dream world rather than stepping forward and seeing what you can create in the real world, believing that no one would listen to you anyway, staying quiet to avoid disappointment. Ooh, very relatable. Very relatable. How do I get through it? How do I adapt to it? I just create safe space. Okay, I'm just gonna do what feels right. It's like when I showed up to art school to deliver a speech in a fucking tutu. Just what felt comfortable. It's, following my rabbit, showing up in the space next to my rocket ship tent with all my tools and little doodads. I told you I would do 26 as well. It's always tea time. This guy always shows up in this space. This is like, it's a field that's cultivating. We're cultivating consciousness, and she's standing in a field of flowers. So here we are creating consciousness and cultivating what it means to be conscious and getting into the flow of things so that we can adapt to these changes and go through it and deal with the emotional stuff, or like, flow with the emotional stuff, or you leave the emotional stuff instead of letting the emotional stuff tell us where to go and what to do and get us caught up. Do the emotions control you, or do you control the emotions? Who's steering that ship? Who's the you that's in there? Who's the driver, the seat of the soul? Who's like behind the eyes, witnessing and observing all of this? Versus who's the you that is this body. Two very different things. It can be harmonized, sure. Is that the reason so many tea things are put out here? She asked. Yes, that's it. So the header with the side, it's always tea time. Oh, there's so much out here. It's always tea time. We can always just dive into this space. Dive into the depths and come up with whatever needs to come up and whatever comes out. Okay, great. We're just following the white rabbit down this flow hole. Curiosity, right? Curiouser and curiouser. It's exploration. It's fine. Wanting to keep to routine and to the schedule, and inability to be spontaneous and break free of what has been decided is going to make that really difficult. You do have the right to change your mind last minute, and if it doesn't feel comfortable, then don't do it. The right way is coming up here. learning to create what you desire. Others may be confused at your desire to shake up the order of things. However, it is progressive and exciting of you to challenge what others consider to be normal. It does not always have to be tea time. Things do not need to be done in the usual way, and time can be shifted and experimented with, so you can make the very most of the life you wish to live. You get one life to live. Wake up, it's your moment. There she is again. Wake up. Mortality. Ugh. Okay, what do we need? Animals, reading people's minds, cats that disappear before vet visits, other feline inversions. Dogs that anticipate going for a walk. Telepathic calls and commands. I just got all sorts of information. I don't think it's necessarily super relevant. I mean, if you're interested in it, dogs one is really pretty fascinating. I gotta meet the guy who wrote the book, and I've got just so many questions for him. Talk about telepathy. I've been trying to have a telepathic conversation with the guy since I met him at the Ions Institute years ago, and I just have questions. So many questions. My research just kind of comes up against some of these ideologies. There must be a living contact. If you walk out of the room, you disappear from my consciousness. Where are you, or why are you not here? These questions do not arise. There are no images here. There's no room for them. The sensory apparatus is completely occupied with the things I am looking at now. There must be a living contact with those things that are in the room, not thoughts about things that are not here. And so if you are totally tuned into the sensory activity, there's no room for fears about who will feed you tomorrow, or for speculation about God, truth, and reality. It's a state in which the questioning is stopped. It's stopped because those questions have no relation to the way the organism is functioning. So I always say, like, what's the function? It's the intention. You're doing things intentionally or whatever, but what's the function? There's an antecedent, there's a behavior, and the consequence, right? So something comes before the behavior that we do in order to try to obtain something. So what is the function of this behavior? Are we trying to avoid something? Are we trying to be rewarded by something? It's really complicated, but it's really, really simple. But I think being really honest with yourself and getting really clear about that and holding people accountable, despite the discomfort, is going to be super important. Otherwise, we're just going to keep going round and round and round and round. The senses in the natural state are functioning at the peak of their sensitivity all the time. So what are we choosing to be aware of? What are we choosing to focus on? It means we're not translating it into action. Thoughts become things. We are not living up to our hopes and expectations of our great tradition or heritage, whatever we want to call it. It doesn't mean that our heritage is false or our values are false. My consolation is that to us, what good is that? Like, that's like saying my grandfather was a very rich man, multimillionaire, and I don't know where my next meal will come from. What is the good of telling myself all the time that my grandfather was multimillionaire? Likewise, India produced great saints, spiritual giants, and we don't have even one in our midst, you see? So what is the good of repeating all the time that our heritage is so tremendous and so great, or praising the greatness of our heritage? In the West, organized religion destroyed the possibility of individual growth. This is all about like being able to heal yourself though, and to like get out of that like weird group mentality thing, that indoctrination where you have to be like everybody else and get the acceptance or whatever, because it's just like these toxic environments that are feeding corporate agenda or somebody else's like agenda. That's not really what we want here. This goes into listening to music, getting into the flow with music. The legends point to the connection between the ability to create harmony and sound and the more general and abstract harmony that underlies the kind of social order we call a civilization. Mindful of that connection. Plato believed that children should be taught music before anything else, and learning to pay attention to graceful rhythms and harmonies, their whole consciousness would become ordered. And we don't pay attention to these like subtle energies and these subtle details. We tune them out. For various reasons. Anything else we need over here? Let's pull something out of the fairies. I think we've kind of gone as far down this rabbit hole as we possibly can go for today. Flow is interesting. There's a lot of different ways that you can get into the state of flow meditation. It's recordable through brain scans. It's, say, real phenomena. Scratch the surface until your fingers bleed. Meaning separates art from craft. Try something new the old-fashioned way. Okay, doing these a little bit differently. But it probably help to kind of sum up everything and getting into these unorthodox approaches to resolve, let's say, stagnation, and just get into the flow and get into this peace of mind, or get into this receptive state, or this biological state of healing and recovery instead of destruction and harm and right toxicity. There's a multitude of things that we can do. It's not going to be one thing that's going to solve all of the things. It's going to be doing lots of little things that are going to make the biggest difference, impact. I said fairies and I pulled out the art oracle. This is our first fairy. Let's just pick randomly. I'm not exactly sure where the box of fairies is itself. I stashed them away. They can be a bit mischievous, but I kept the book out. I already have it marked. Let's pick one that isn't marked. One for the table. Iris of the Rainbows. Hope, promise for the future. Nellis the Alchemist. Inner transformation, irrevocable change. I feel like Iris of the Rainbow is probably for one or two people specifically. Iris tells us that light is breaking through our present darkness and that hope is a powerful factor in speeding up this process. She does not promise us that the storm is over, nor does she say that it will never storm again, but she does say that there is brightness and beauty here. And there's beauty in the darkness. If take shit to make bliss, I feel pretty blissfully. She also tells us that there's something to be gained by this passage through the storm, and the sooner we learn what it is, the sooner the storm will end. It's getting us through the keyhole, the learning of the experience. So we just gotta go through it, it's just part of it. Always, the passage through the storm is a time of potential growth, a time to allow the dead wood of our past to be blown away to make room for the green shoots of new growth. At this point, it is useful to ask ourselves what we still need to release and to look after protecting and nurturing the seeds we have planted. Iris suggests that cultivation of patience may also be helpful at this time. Patience, pace, wait, good things will come, consolidate, concentrate, just be you. The storm is breaking up. Are we ready for the change? If we are presently frogs, the fairies say the time of our transformation, foretold by the rainbow, may be at hand. And we shall be kissed by the push and light of the sun and discover if we are still frogs or if we've become something much more. Winged female fairies are the soul's messengers representing the spirit freed from the mundane. They are creatures of aspiration and transcendence, flying between the worlds, between heaven and earth, between the body and the soul. I mean, might as well do it now, because you don't know when you're going to get the next opportunity to do it, you know? You don't take the time to take these initiatives now, you're not going to be carving the path or cultivating the garden for more of these things to happen in the future, and we'll be very limited, and we won't be able to do any of it. So do it now. Just do it and plant the creative seed, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, but just do the thing. Fairies hide what you want and reveal what you need, okay? Did you come in here looking for some specific wanting of this or wanting this to be done a certain way? Because it's not going to be done that way, but there are other things here revealed to you that I think are going to allow you to answer that question for yourself. You already know how to get there. Inner transformation and irrevocable change. A lot of people are avoidant of change and transformation because they know once they make that transformation, they're not going to be able to go back. It's like things are never going to be the same. You left. You were gone for a while, and now you're back, and things are different. And it happens. There's nothing we can do to take any of that back, to change any of that. In fairy and sometimes in our world, alchemy is the study and practice of transforming the soul from the lead of primitive conditioned reaction to the gold of spiritual and practical attainment. Will it help you if I put on the gold jacket? Okay, let's go. Let's just do it. Okay. I read around on Golden Unicorn and I paint myself gold, and I find in this unorthodox action it uncovers and reveals more and more meaning to me than I ever could have possibly have imagined. But I trust it, and I go with that flow of things and the information that has been revealed to me through this action and this practice and this creative whatever is just like, and I get to share it. And so that's fascinating, right? Where else? Nellis is mistress of the alchemical arts, and she also understands that daily life is a spiritual exercise. Yeah, it takes practice, like tapping in fully and connecting to the things to be able to, like, you know, manifest the stuff that is important and necessary. Sometimes things just cannot move without readjustment, perhaps even radical realignment. Oh, that was another piece. Sometimes all the doors are locked and you can't go anywhere, and you're like stuck in this place because it's for your protection. It's like God's protection. It's not that things aren't working out and not working in your favor. It's that it's protecting you and saving you from things that you cannot see that are harmful for you. So it's keeping you safe, in safe space. So trust that. Okay. We may feel that we should be able to bring our plans to fruition, but we may be aiming at the impossible, or at least at the very inappropriate. Part of the impossibility or inappropriateness may be a result of our own attitudes, beliefs, behaviors. Part of it may be circumstances in the world, things that are beyond our control. Often inner transformation is required in order to achieve what we wish for in the outer world, just as conversely, changes in the outer world often elicit inner transformation. Like if you can't change one, then change the other. If you can't do anything about your external circumstances, then do something about your internal circumstances. If you can't do anything about your internal circumstances, then change your external circumstances, and they fuel each other hand in hand. Okay? Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, one the other. Personal interchange is the truest transformation of all, and in the long run, it is the only change that really matters. It's the only one that you can control anyway. It's the only one that you can really, consciously relate to, experientially. It's your subjective experience. And that internal, subjective way of relating to the world is purely yours and so unique and something that nobody else can experience. Unless you can, abstract some of it into, an art form and put some of that out there, but only then it's like scratching the surface. Ooh, scratched at the surface until your fingers bleed. We'll get to that here in just a second, and then I'll close this off for the day. Douglas points out a path we can follow, Jonathan observes, but she does not lead us by the hand along it, although she might give us a nudge if we seem to need it. If you concentrate very hard, you can get to the bottom of the problem. Consolidate. Concentrate, right? Patience pays. That was the other one. Consolidate. Concentrate. Just be you. If you concentrate very hard. Nellis the Alchemist. When it turns up in your reading, get ready for things to happen, inwardly and outwardly. Here's all the alchemy. All you need to do is be in the frequency, and now things are going to start shifting and changing in your life. Like it or not. You can reach out to me. I'm a guide. Transformation guide. That's why I'm here. But I can't connect to you. You have to reach to me. I can hear you. The stuck becomes unstuck. The blocked begins to move. You may have to run to keep up with the speed at which the situation around you is moving. You may also be surprised by the direction of things and you are taking. You may find your plans, even your desires and dreams, changing as the transformative process takes place. It might not have been in your plans, but later on you will look back and say, wow, it wasn't what I expected, but it was just what I needed. Wow, did you need to hear that too? Talking to myself. When we have been through such an alchemical process, we can never go back to what we were before. It's probably just as well. This is you being the block in your own path, getting through attitudes and behaviors. She will first approach you with tact and a kindly fairy warning. There's that warning again. Things are going to be difficult, but it's not impossible. Be very mindful of the energy vampires through this transformation, because you're going to be transforming and you are vulnerable and things are going to want to come along and eat a hole through your abdomen and take advantage of that, and you have to have that toroidal energetic field so pure, whole, strong. Consolidate, concentrate, be patient, be mindful. Breathe and stay present. Okay, note the feelings and count to 5 before taking an action, so you're not being impulsive. Be intentional with the breath. Think about it and then decide, but be honest and authentic and true. At this point, it would be well to begin actively cooperating with her energy of alchemical transformation. It is quite a hefty fairy wand she carries, and I'm sure it isn't just for decoration. Alright. been alchemically changed, whether you like it or not now. Okay? Things have been shifted for you, whether you like it or not. And it's just gonna happen. Okay? Let's look at this Grace and Perry over here. Things aren't what they seem. He and she dress. I think there's, just on a side note, something that I'm getting annoyed with is the lack of page numbers and the lack of numbering in things, especially in children's books. We have to write down how many pages did you read, and then all these children's books don't have the page numbers in them. You have to count the pages, and then these, like, this little booklet, nothing is numbered. Fine. In 2003, Grace and Perry accepted the Turner Prize just as his female second self, Claire, and congratulated the Electoral Committee on finally recognizing, in his words, a transvestite Potter. The Potter part is the tougher sell in the art world where craft is often the backup dancer to concept. Working in deceptively traditional media, such as ceramics and textiles, Perry uses techniques such as formaggio, sgraffito, and photographic transfers to address contemporary subjects, including global and domestic violence, environmental emergency, some troubled childhood, ugly politics, and all that sex stuff. His marriage to psychotherapist Philippa Perry is probably more boring than it sounds. The unorthodox stuff. And you want one or two more of these guys just for fun? Let's do 2 more of these guys just for fun, and we'll close it off. Thank you for being in this space. I'm on Venmo. Sweet Unicorn with the K. I have a transformation guide. If you feel like dropping me any, holiday gifts and donations, that would be fantastic. Got a fundraiser floating around too for Feed a Unicorn. So you can do my Arts Consciousness Initiative and Value Empowerment Project, and I'm super excited about that. So you just get to help fuel all of this, whatever's flowing, just adding water to the river current, adding water to the streams so that it becomes like the Nile. Okay, leave me 2 more. Somebody's upside down. Damien Hirst, Art and Science are for confronting mortality. Postpone death. Preserve it in formaldehyde encrusted in diamonds. Talk to your local pharmacist. You might be just struggling with the ideas of suicide, old age, stress, global frustrations, or just like this idea of death as it is. And that's okay, that's fine. It's completely natural, and I think it's worth exploring in the creative process. People want to make things too like pretty and like all fields of flowers, and but again, it's the intention, so it's what's going to come through within that information. Paul Gauguin popped out. Go far to go far. Exaggerate the subtle. Share the unseen. Only an outsider sees inward. Getting outside of the norm, doing things a little bit different, and tapping into the subtle bodies, right? It's all the same thing. Every portrait is a self-portrait. If no group will have you, start your own. Like gold, eroticism fluctuates with the times. Okay? That change, whatever lights us up, turns us on, whatever change, man, it's inevitable. And all you can do is navigate the experience of your life changing and yourself changing through all of this. I'm going to pull one more just because I like odds. And I've got 4 of them here. So we'll put one more out on the table. We'll close this off by 1. And then I can go shower and carry on with my day. Go clean all this off. Sophia Kaye, huh? Sophie Kaye? The sleeper. Put on a good show for the surveillance cameras. I told you they're watching. Things are watching, so I might as well just turn it into a performance. It's all performance art. People are watching. Put on a good show for them. Because they're watching. see you. Feel you watching me. Distance makes the heartbreak stronger. Invade neighboring states of privacy. I will read this one out of the little booklet here, and let's close it off. It's funny, she's the sleeper, and one of the other cards we got was the wake up, right? The wake up call. Funny how the absence makes the heart grow fonder, but at the same time, the distance makes the heartbreak stronger. People like being close, connections, that interrelating, close to the self too. Her media include photography, text, video, voyeurism, oversharing, and unlawful invasions of privacy. In one of her first projects, The Sleepers, she found 23 people to sleep continuously in her bed in consecutive 8-hour sessions that included them being photographed and interrogated. For The Shadow, 1981, she had her mother hire a private detective who surreptitiously followed her, unaware that she was aware. The irony, like just toying with the evil forces, which is why we pulled in the fairies. It's just play. People want to take all this stuff so seriously to try and like, but we can like shake it up a bit and have fun with it, right? Address book, 1983, a guy called Strangers from a found address book, asking about its owner and publishing the transcripts as part of an imagined portrait of the man who found out and freaked out. This is why consent is really important. I love human psychology as an art form. They do. This performance art piece of just creating context or putting context together to get people to be confronted with things that they otherwise avoid. In 2000, Venice Biennial exhibit, Take Care of Yourself. Take care of yourself. This is what a lot of this is about in the flow. Healing the self. She asked 107 women to interpret a breakup letter she received. Alright. Let's switch this. This has been fun. I'm gonna do what I can to show up here as much as I can. It's just easiest at the moment to turn on my phone, go live through the Facebooks. I want to do stuff on YouTube too, but the safe space thing is kind of getting to me. So I'm orchestrating that piece, so to speak. One, let's do 2 more breaths. Breath is a great way to get in the flow, breathe with music. Breathe in, short inhale, at least double that exhale. Alright, be changed, my little changelings, little transforming beings. Until next time, bye-bye.